Obviously, I'm a Yankees fan, so I'd love to see him.
It's almost like legacy of like the NFL versus.
But I definitely think that Baker could be a really good player for the Panthers moving forward.
Did I say Oreos?
There's a lot of questions I have about Mahomes. Looks like a kid playing Madden.
Turning point in the game is the 13-second drive.
They play very hard, even though they're terrible.
He's a good pick. For sure. He's going to be a good player. But I can't argue against the Jamar Chase pick.
They made moves saying we're going to win this year, at least get into the playoffs.
I'm going with my guy, Corey Seager. So glad.
What's good, y'all? My name is Austin Jarman, and I play rugby for the University of Notre Dame. And you're listening to The Outsider's Opinion with Austin and Kevin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to another NFL Opinions of the Week. We are doing top 10s as it is the time for offseason. The man joining me in this top 10 journey, Austin.
Yeah, we're getting to a position group that I don't think gets enough love, Kevin. The linebackers, especially the ones that aren't outside, so not like a TJ Watt. These are linebackers that play off the ball and make a lot of plays, but I don't think they get enough love anymore. We've lost a little bit of the razzle-dazzle around them, but I still think they deserve their shine, and we'll give it to them today.
Yeah, and they are critical in the run game. And it's tough for an everyday like watcher or just like an average NFL watcher to notice their impact. It's really, and to me, this was tough because I'm like, I don't really know exactly the difference, but there are some great linebackers, no matter what, that show their talents. So the top two were pretty easy for me, but going through that, I'm like, okay, who are these great linebackers? And let's just get right into it at number 10.
Yeah, so these, I will let you go first, but let me just clarify a little bit. So these are middle linebackers, but they also can be like Sam linebackers or will linebackers, outside linebackers that are off the ball. So not like a TJ Watt, but like some other player. You'll see when we get into it, like these guys are not like a Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, Danielle Hunter, Josh Allen. These are more, they're just off the ball. They can be outside linebackers, that's fine. They just can't be on ball like Micah or TJ are. Yeah, I'll let you start with your 10.
Yeah, my 10 is the goal basically of these linebackers that we're covering is stopping the run game and in pass coverage. They're not rushing the passer. They're
not their worth is not determined by sacks like the other guys are.
It's like tackles for loss and stuff you can't really see.
Yeah.
That can't be quantified on the stat sheet. This is a guy like I'm a huge fan of, TJ Edwards. He was great with the Eagles when they went to the Super Bowl, and then he was with the Bears. But to me, he's a solid linebacker, and he can make some pretty good tackles.
Yeah, that's not one that I'm the most accustomed to hearing, but there are some guys. Again, the problem with I think linebackers is that they're, unless it's at top two. I think we both know who we're referencing when I say that. They don't get media coverage. Like you don't. It's almost like the whole like when you. A lot of people say the refs are good when you don't notice them. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's true with linebackers a lot because no one really cares if it's a 2-yard run. That's amazing for the defense, but that's not like the spark play that everybody wants to watch, right? It's everybody wants to watch the massive sacks or everything else. But I'll go to my number 10, and this is somebody who played really well last year, but he's hitting up in age. He will be 35 this year, and it's Demario Davis. One of my favorite linebackers in the league. He is definitely more inside than some of these guys, but he is. He used to play for the Jets. He's now on the Saints. He's been an all-pro first team or second team every year since 2019. So 2019 through 2023, those 5 years, he was all-pro first or second team. But like I said, Kevin, he's going to be 35 this year. And if I'm going based on what I expect, predictions, I don't know if he's going to be great. But he's been so good, so consistent over the last 5 years that I think I still have to give him a nod.
Yeah, I actually have him pretty higher than you. But given like what you mentioned, but yeah, age is a consideration, so I understand having him at 10. But
yeah,
maybe,
he's played almost every game during his career. He hasn't missed many games at all. It's just 35. That's an age that jumps off the page for NFL, especially.
yeah,
Especially the linebacker where
animal
there's so much
linebacker,
contact.
Yeah, I agree. So I understand having him at 10. I just have him higher. But yeah, who's your 9?
So my 9, this is a guy that I think doesn't get enough coverage, and it's again, I'm going to be saying that a lot because the way that again the NFL tracks their guys is just it's not based on who's actually the best. It's the smart plays and all that stuff. I really think that Quay Walker for the Packers, who's had okay years the past 2 years, will really come onto the scene this year. His importance on the defense will be huge. And I think that he has to step up for this team to really get to that next level. Last year, they obviously won a playoff game, but they weren't that great during the regular season. They were fine. But to get that next level, to be a Super Bowl contender, they need a guy like Devondre Campbell was. And I think he's learned from Devondre Campbell, who's not on the team anymore. And I think Quay Walker is a guy that I'm very confident could become really good. He had a 6 AV last year after having a 7 in his rookie year. He did miss some games last year. He only played 14 instead of 17. He probably would have been – I think he was better last year than he was his rookie year. He's played a little bit less. But I am excited for how he'll play this season. I think he'll take a big leap forward.
Yeah, he did not make my list, but he is a solid linebacker, and he is a player the Packers are banking on, given their linebacking situation. My 9 is Azeez Al-Shaair. He's a guy I've been pretty high on, and he's a guy I've read about. With the Cowboys needing help at run game, he would have been a great piece. So I think he's going to burst more onto the scene, especially with the Texans.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Who is your 8?
My 8 is Bobby Wagner. He's a guy getting up in age, but he is such a great linebacker. However, I think he's going to fall off, and he's a guy that has fallen off a little bit. But given just his experience, he deserved a nod, in my opinion.
Yeah, he did not make my list. It was between him and Demario Davis for me because of the age situation. I only wanted to include one, but I had to cut Bobby. Bobby's great. I do think that it was a little bit name recognition why he got on an all-pro second team more than skill. I think Demario Davis is just slightly better, but Bobby's still very good. My number 8 is Willie Gay Jr. He's now won 2 titles with the Chiefs, and especially in the playoffs, it seems like he just plays so much better. And I think he'll take that next step forward defensively during the regular season. He had his highest AV of his career with 8. He had just 58 tackles, but he makes big plays, and especially how he plays during the playoffs. I'm excited to see how this Kansas City defense really forms because they have so many great defensive players. I think it'll make everyone else better. While, like I said, if you haven't watched the wide receiver video, I say in the wide receiver video that with DJ Moore, that Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze probably will kind of mute his production. I think the opposite of that usually happens on defense because when you have a lot of defensive guys, you can shut down everybody at the same time. And while you won't necessarily get the best stats that jump off the page, you will play much better and it will be apparent. So I have Willie Gay Jr. as my number 8.
Yeah, I wanted to have him on this list, but I have Nick Bolton on this list. And to me, I was like, I don't want to have both of them on this list.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just worried. Is he your 8 or 7?
He's my 6.
If he's not, then you can leave him.
Yeah.
What is he?
He's my 6.
Oh, okay. I'll just say that he only played 8 games last year.
Yeah.
And so I'm worried. Linebacking is a position that injuries can really ramp up quickly. And I'm more confident in Willie Gay than I am Nick Bolton.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a huge Nick Bolton fan. Yeah, no, that's fair. I know him and Willie Gay are just perfect together. I think they balance out each other, and they really help Kansas City. So Nick Bolton, to me, I like him. So he's my 6. I'll just say my 7 is Matt Milano for the Bills. He kind of really stepped up this year and played well, but he also got injured for the Bills, and you could see the effect on that defense. But he does a great job, so he's my 7.
Yeah, Milano's another guy. I wanted to have him on, but he played 5 games last year, Kevin.
Yeah.
And there's been years before where he only played 10 games. Look, did he have one of the best linebacking seasons I've seen in a while in 2022? Yes. But I'm being a little bit safe here regarding injuries because I'm not as confident as I want to be because injuries can really, really affect you. My number 7 is Patrick Queen. Queen's really, really good. The problem is I don't know how. Look, you will play better because of how good your team is, but I think the guy who's above him that we were both going to have does more than Patrick Queen. But I wanted to have Patrick Queen on here.
Okay.
Because I think Queen's really, really good. I just think the other guy does more, affects the game more, and makes it hard for Queen to contribute as a linebacker than this other guy. Queen deserves to be on here. There's other guys that make more of an impact on their own team, so I wanted to have those guys listed. But Queen's still an amazing player.
Yeah, I think Queen is a great player, but for the same reason, I didn't have on my list because I'm like, I think the other guy helps him more. And that can be seen in stats because I remember people talking about, they're like, Queen is so much better. So I understand having him on the list. I think he's a great linebacker. However, I kind of wanted to keep one linebacker per team just because there are only really 2 middle linebackers really on the field. So
they can have 3 at times. It depends on the set. Because if you have 3 down linemen or 4 down linemen. But I get what you're saying. I think Queen's just really, really good. Like I think he breaks the mold in that aspect. I know it's not a perfect answer, but I do want to have Queen here.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I just stick to one because then if you have 2 guys, then that's more linebacking core. But I understand having Patrick Queen. But yeah, so my 6 is Nick Bolton. I really love his ability, and he can make some splash plays even as a linebacker. And you could see how his absence hurt the Chiefs defensively. But yeah, so I've already talked about him, so that's my 6.
Yeah, I'm going to struggle saying this guy's name. He plays for the Jaguars. Maybe you can help me out because he should be on your list. Maybe he's not. That's fine.
I don't think he's on I don't have a Jaguars player.
Okay. It's Foyesade Alokun. He had a 9.8 AV last year. He led the NFL in solo tackles with 111. The year before that, he led the league in solo tackles with 128. So both years with Jacksonville, he's led the league in solo tackles. In 2022, he also led in combined. And then in 2021, he led the league in combined. So I remember him with Atlanta. He's just a tackle machine. He had his highest approximate value last year at 9. He had 8 the year before that, and then 7, and then 7. So he's getting even better. I think he possibly could be an all-pro this upcoming season. And I think he deserves to make this list. He's a very talented guy. And I remember when the Jaguars got him away from Atlanta, I knew that Atlanta was going to have even more trouble on defense because they keep getting some good guys and then getting rid of them, and then their defense isn't the greatest. So Foyesade Alokun, sorry if I mispronounced that name, but I do really think he's great.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I wasn't really familiar with him, but yeah, he did not make my list. But I'll go into my 5, which is CJ Mosley on the Jets. He was with the Ravens. I think he's a great linebacker. But yeah, he can make some key plays. He also had a lot of interceptions a few years ago. But I just value the other guys above him.
Yeah, you and I agree again. I do think that CJ Mosley is the fifth best linebacker in the NFL. His effect on the game, I think, is felt immensely more on the Jets than it is on Baltimore because the Jets defense is so suffocating recently. He made the All-Pro team in 2022, didn't make it last year, but I do think he is extremely good.
And then I'll go into my 4. He was your 10, Demario Davis. I think he's a fantastic linebacker. I know because of the age, but I think he's gonna push it along for one more year and can. He's not really talked about in the Saints defense, which is kind of shows the how he helps the Saints defense because they're not worried about the run game. They're worried about like pass coverage. To me, that Saints defense runs because of guys like Demario Davis who don't really get the recognition that goes toward Cameron Jordan and Marshawn Lattimore, which is deserved. It's just he's a big part of that defense.
Yeah. So my number 4 is also a Jets player. I know you said that I'm surprised you don't have this guy over CJ Mosley, because I think he is a better player. He almost doubled the approximate value that CJ Mosley had, and it's Quincy Williams. Quincy Williams they have him listed as sort of an outside linebacker, but he's not a sack guy. He had 139 combined tackles. He only had 2 sacks during the year while being all-pro first team for linebacker. So he's played inside linebacker, middle linebacker. They have him as a pseudo outside linebacker, but he's not on ball. So he makes the list for me. He does different stuff than CJ Mosley. CJ Mosley, I think, is a better pass coverer, but if we're talking just run stopping, Quincy Williams can stop the run immensely. And he is my number 4.
Okay. My number 3 is Levante David. This is a guy you're really high on. He sort of plays outside linebacker, but doesn't really rush the passer. He's great stopping the run and has been a huge part of that Buccaneers defense.
Yeah, I would have had Levante David on here if it was just based on leadership. He's kind of dropped off since the year they won the title, but he's still extremely, extremely good, extremely talented, and I'm going to be sad when he leaves. Him and Mike Evans are just, I think, the core of that team. They have such a great leadership room, and I'm kind of shocked that he's been there so long. It is pretty remarkable because, Kevin, they were so bad for so long. I don't know how the Bucs can keep that many players on their team that are consistent all pros and Pro Bowlers when you don't have that much success. I feel like in today's league and in all leagues where there is so much free agency, so much trade, so many moves, that they would not try to move on to greener pastures. But I didn't go that way, even though it definitely is something that I love. He's an amazing player, and I am excited to see how he plays this upcoming year. But he is not my number 3. My number 3 is a player that plays for the Colts. He was second in tackles this year. His name is Zaire Franklin. You may not know who he is. He was a 7th-round pick in 2018, Kevin. And I think this is the year that he really jumps onto the scene. He'll be 28 this year. And he, for Indianapolis, is been much better than I think he gets credit for, maybe because he was such a low draft pick. He had 179 tackles last year with 3 QB hits. His approximate value is around 7 to 8 every year. He's healthy. He's played 16 or more games every year of his career. So through those 6 years of his career, he's played every game almost. He missed 1 game last year. But that consistency, that ability to play in every game, along with his ability to stop the run, he's my number 3.
Yeah, he's a good pick. I thought about putting him in the top 10, but I didn't. But he is a great player with all the stats that you talked about. Now, I'll probably just say my 2 and 1 because it seems like we'll be in agreement on that.
I think it's Roquan Smith and Fred Warner. I think that's 2 Roquan, 1 Fred. It's not even remotely close. Like the way they're above the other guys, 3 through 10 are all relatively close. I could see, like, I understand that you not even having Zaire Franklin because it's so tight. Like, there's so many really good linebackers, but there's 2 that are great.
Yes.
And those 2 are the 2 we have at 1 and 2.
Yeah, they just make the key plays and make stellar plays. Fred Warner can cover wide receivers in the pass coverage. He did that with CeeDee Lamb a few years ago in the playoffs. Roquan, you could feel his impact on that Baltimore team when he got traded. And we talked about his impact on Patrick Queen. So, yeah, I don't think there's much left to discuss on this one.
Yeah, easily 1 and 2.
Yep. Dre Greenlaw, I would have had on this list, but
I agree. He's number 3, but he won't play this year. And if he does, this is an Achilles tear that I'm not confident putting him here at all.
Yeah. So we'll just have to see what happens. I'll toss this over to you to close it out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know what you thought about our list and who your best linebacker is in the league. Thank you.